rolling into the fantasy playoffs. It's week 15. We can't get too cute with our lineups, but some of us also are hurting, and we need somebody plucked up off waivers, especially at the running back position, to help us get us by. We're looking at some ancillary jabronis to help us get through week 15 so we can get through the playoffs, hopefully into the championship game, and maybe win some money. We got some good news here. Antonio Gibson is going to get his opportunity this week. Brian Robinson out with an injury. And today we're going to cover whether or not you need him for fantasy football. We've been talking about him for quite some time, and you're going to need to pay attention to the entire video to get to take, not just the title, because there's more into this than whether or not you need to start him. But what you need to do right now, click that subscribe button, hit that button right now so you can stop missing out on this content, because I'm helping you with the waiver wire. I'm helping you with your lineups. I'm helping you with deep dives like this video to help you figure out what you want to do with these players, what you need to do with them, if you need to roster them, stash them, start them, whatever. These videos are here to help you make those decisions with the information. That's what they're here for. And I'm also a key resource in the off season with advanced metrics, values on players to help you with your drafts. And if you don't hit that button right now, you're going to miss out. You're not going to get that opportunity to have me help you with your drafts and your lineups and your rosters for the rest of the season and next year. But let's dig in here. Let's look at Antonio Gibson. Brian Robinson's out. He's not playing. That's going to create some opportunities for him and Chris Rodriguez here to see some opportunities. We're going to talk about Rodriguez as well. I know you might have got fired up about that, but we will talk about him. Antonio Gibson, though, we're shining light on him because he's got a lot of upside. We've seen him be productive off and on throughout the season. We've seen him score 16 fantasy points, 12, 10, 11. He has done it. It's been the Brian Robinson show, but that show is on a pause right now. Antonio Gibson stepping up, and they're saying right here, the Rotoballer article right there, Antonio Gibson, a mid-range RB2 against the Rams. That makes a lot of sense. That's what we're seeing as well. And then looking at him over the course of time, his fantasy production ever since his rookie season, he can be productive. He can be useful in fantasy because he's very good at catching the ball out of the backfield. Top tier, size adjusted athleticism, 90-some percentile. When we look at that, 4.39 40-yard dash, 99th percentile at 228 pounds. When you look at a running back like this who can also catch the ball out of the backfield, they are dangerous to break loose on any given play. And we're looking at a one-game sample here. We're not stretching this out for a full season. So with him getting a workload, with him getting some opportunities, this is a player you want to look at, maybe put some chips on, maybe even on DFS, maybe, because we're seeing some opportunities here where he could step up to the plate, and all it takes is one run, one catch, him getting some yak, and that could get you what you need to get over the line in fantasy this week to score enough. That is all we're looking at here. We're not looking at him and his talents. We're looking at his talents. We're looking at his talents because we know he can catch the ball in the backfield. We know he's explosive in space, and that's really all we need to look at. And he's got the size to run it between the tackles, but we know that. We've seen that throughout the years here. We're looking at a matchup, though, and it's interesting because it's the Rams. You don't really run on the Rams, but the Rams are going to be pushing the pace, and that could increase the volume in this game, especially when you look at the over-under here at 50.5. So if the Commanders are playing from behind, guess who could be used in the passing game? That could be Antonio Gibson. And we'll look at Sam Howell. He slings the rock to everybody. So there's a chance he gets some targets, and there's a good chance he gets a couple at least. But there's a chance he could get spammed a little bit. But when we look at these pass catchers, anybody can get it on any given Sunday. A lot of times the game log looks like this with guys catching passes. So look for him to get some work in the passing game. Look for him to get some opportunities here. Look for that speed to be a factor as well. But looking at the Rams' run defense here, they rank 28th in the league at allowing fantasy points to running back, 17.6 per game. It's harder for running backs to score fantasy points on them. We've only had one running back, which is Christian McCaffrey, score more than 20 fantasy points. In the 15 to 20 range, it's just been DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, and Najee Harris. 10 to 15 range, just 5. They've had 5 games where they only allowed single-digit fantasy performances to all the running backs involved in that contest. That being said, the Rams can lock it down. Odds are you might get a 10 spot. It might be on the lower end. You could get a 10 spot. You need him to break loose in the open field for him to maximize his opportunities or cross the goal line. But he is going to catch some balls, get some opportunities. That's why he's a mid-range RB2. Not the greatest, but if you need touches, he has the upside to do it for you. Compared to the NFL average, they're a little bit lower compared to 22.1 points per game over the last 3 weeks to 16.3. And on the season, it's holding up as well on that 3-game sample. That being said, it's going to be tough for him to really hit that upside against this Rams run defense. But still, we could get a 10 to 15 spot out of him. That seems highly likely. We can get a little bit less than that. But if he's getting touches, getting opportunities, and the Commanders are playing from behind, that's what the spread is kind of saying with that. We might see him get some targets in the passing game. However, you can't rely on that because we're getting game logs like this with the wide receivers, and the wide receivers have been up and down this offense as well. And the thing about that is you might hit on that, but the odds are saying, hey, it's going to spread around if they are behind. When you look at the rankings though, RB26 on 4 for 4, so he is an RB2 this week, a lower end RB2, RB3 range. That's where he's at. Guys like James Conner, Kenneth Walker, Jalen Warren, Keaton Mitchell, Aaron Jones, who's out, Jarrett McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Devin Singletary are all ranked behind him. That makes sense. Pushes with guys like Najee Harris, Jerome Ford, Ty Chandler, who's playing right now as I speak, Chuba Hubbard, DeAndre Swift. You might make a case for him over some of those guys. I could see that. Antonio Gibson, he's a wild card. Not the greatest matchup. Not the worst either. There is some opportunities here, but we need him to fire in the passing game. We need him to cross the goal line. We could see that. That being said, you're getting touches. You're getting opportunities. That's a good thing to roll with. That's a good thing to look at, especially if you're hurting at the running back position. You might have some options in this range that you're wondering who to start. And a lot of this, you're just flipping a coin to see what happens. James Conner's not safe against the Niners. Kenneth Walker's really not safe against Philly, so you may roll with him. Antonio Gibson versus Keaton Mitchell. Gibson's a little bit safer. Look at it that way. He's safer than McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. One of those two running backs might outscore him, but you're playing Russian roulette with those running backs. Devin Singletary might get a little extra touches in this game. Deonta Foreman's a wild card there, RB35. I think he's a little bit underranked. Again, it's against the Browns, but still I think the opportunities could lend itself considering the quarterback play for Cleveland. That being said, Antonio Gibson is very competitive among the RB2 running backs here. He's going to have a chance to outscore a lot of these guys. Chris Rodriguez, I said I was going to talk about him, and he's a rookie running back who was very productive throughout his career at Kentucky, and he's a guy that can hammer it home between the tackles. He's a good grinder. I would not be surprised if he gets an opportunity around the goal line, score some points, and really exceed expectations. I'm not relying on him in redraft, especially in a 12-man league. I'm not over the moon for that. 14-teamer, 16-teamer, you may want to have him stashed just in case he exceeds expectations. In DFS, if you're looking for a free square, maybe if you're playing around with your lineups, only for max entry tournaments. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I would not be putting them in your lineups. Because if you're doing max entry tournaments, you're probably already putting them in there because that's how you're doing the strategy. But Chris Rodriguez here, he's going to be getting some opportunities. He's at least a rookie to pay attention to. He's good between the tackles. He's very efficient. He's a jack of all trades here. And he's a guy that could surprise us if the opportunities run his way. But you need Antonio Gibson because you need touches. Because he's going to be getting touches. The upside may not tap in, but he does have some upside to look at. You don't need him because you don't want to take on risk. However, if he's on waivers right now, you may want to pick him up so nobody else can. You're in the playoffs right now. You got to play a little defense with the waiver wire. He's a running back who's getting touches. He's got elite speed here at his size. Something you want to look at here. And if you have him on your roster sitting there where nobody else can pick him up, that means you won't have to face him just in case he goes off in the next few weeks. If Brian Robinson is still out, that's a strategy you can think of. But don't do it. Don't push for it if your rosters are tight. But let me know what you think in the comments below when you hear about it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'm here to help you all season long. And then when it comes to drafts next year, you're going to want my information. But I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on next video.